Hello, my name is Nathan Olenacek, and I am reviewing Dr. Seeger's CE300 Engineering Business Practices class. I feel like this class both has its pros and cons, and that I will be breaking down what I feel like are the pros and what I feel like are the cons from this class. So to start out with the positive, the pros, I feel like he had us implement a bunch of new apps like the Slack, Box, Cam Scanner, and CritViz. With Slack in particular, I felt like this was useful because it helps students communicate with one another, and I felt like it was a good resource for students. This section was run by Cole, and I think that he did a good job of making sure that it went well. Box, that was one I haven't used before. It's easy to store documents between team members, as we'll touch later. Cam Scanner, it's pretty much a scanning device, like you scan a document in without actually having to use like a printer or something. Thought that was useful. CritViz, it was useful to get the feedback from the assignments and other classmates. I also liked the built-in timer letting you know when something is due, like the assignment that I missed. So that was helpful. This part was run by Abdullah and Emily, and I thought that they did a good job. Let's see, my next bullet I made is the unusual class situations. This class isn't taught in the very traditional way, where it's just the teacher lecturing the whole time. It was more like Seeger talked about what he felt was important and opened it up to discussion, so I feel like the classroom discussion was an important part of this. I also feel like having the parallel and plenary classes had its benefit. So not only did you have Seeger, but you also had your TA, and you could work mainly in the plenary. It was with group members. I feel like this class helped us prepare for life after college, mainly with the group projects. We had two big group projects throughout this year. That was the proposal that we made based on our sharing economy. We chose Uber, and I also felt like the bids was within this that extra credit assignment bids was a good group project, and I felt like those both prepared us for what the actual field is going to be like. My final point of the cons was the helpfulness of the TAs and Alex. I feel like that they were able to really help the groups and help the students understand if Seeger couldn't get his point across. And I felt like Alex was a very reasonable and understanding guy. Let's see, the cons. One big con that I have was the getting grades back. So we only really got a few updates throughout the entire semester, and that was kind of concerning. So you didn't really get any grade back before the midterm, so you had no idea where you were in the class. I'm also wondering if we're going to get the proposals back before the final. That way we know where we're sort of at in the class. I had, on my part, a few big errors that in the gradebook I had zeros for, but in fact I did the assignment, and Alex was pretty helpful being able to get those grades fixed, and that was realizing that there was an error with that, but that was resolved. Con was a group project. So although we were allowed to pick our own groups, we stuck with a group of 3, and a 4th member was assigned to us that we didn't really want, and he proved that he didn't really want to help us either because he literally did nothing. And so I feel like that there should have been a better way of picking your groups in terms. I know that's partially on us, but I feel like that's having the 4th group member that was just kind of, he was just taking all of our grades that we were getting. So that's kind of irritating. Let's see, con is Seeger himself. Within lecture, if you raise your hand, you better have a good idea, or else Seeger's going to kind of roast you. I was able to talk to him without being insulted by him, just because that's kind of my personality. I can just take that. But I feel like there were a few times within class where the discussions got pretty heated, and that he actually offended students. I also noticed that he only takes his answer, like that's the only correct answer you can really have is his answer, and I'd say that because of that he's pretty one-sided. So if you thought differently than he did, sometimes he would acknowledge it and think that it was a good idea, but most of the time you didn't work. I also felt like there were times where he was very unorganized and that the classes were kind of just thrown together. But I noticed that toward the end, it seemed like the class was being improved and that he had everything allotted. Like in lectures, for example, he had his breakdowns of his times. He knew that he had to talk about the 3 topics and when to stop and start. I feel like half the time too, he would end the class saying, "Watch my video that I made," and I feel like this should have been covered in class because it was pretty important, rather than just having us go watch his video that he made and learn it by ourselves. I feel like there would be a better way to do that. And then I have another big complaint that the teaching of the finance section, the topic was not covered at all in the lecture itself, and because of that we were just kind of thrown this assignment, and I feel like the TAs had to teach and explain most of the questions, and this was kind of an issue that I had. But I feel like the class overall was a success. I did like the fact that it prepared us for the new section of our lives that we're going to have after school, and I liked that it was the unusual class setting and that it was different from most of them. Thank you.